Live.
All right, welcome back here to the Chabinet meeting. It is 5/31/2021. First off, and I would say happy Memorial Day, but obviously we are here in uh, happiness, I guess you could say. There's people out there who are having their barbecues and whatnot, but thank you to our servicemen and women who are out there now and who were out there who gave their lives and everything for what they believe this idea of this country is. So thank you to your people. I'll certainly be saying a prayer for you guys later. In other words, there's some other stuff going on, but first off, hopefully, maybe we can get the gavel to come in a little bit later. That would be great. But if not, we'll see the gavel next week. I'm the department chair.
I am the cabinet.
And again, it has been another crazy week. Just to get into some brief little things before we get into our big thing of the day, the Democrats and Republicans are currently duking it out over the infrastructure plan, which the Democrats wanted $2.7 trillion, and Republicans won $600 billion. And
Uh,
oh, yep, I expected that reaction. The Republicans have moved up to about 1 trillion. Was it 1 trillion? Yeah, 1 trillion, and the Democrats moved down to 1.7. Apparently, this morning, Biden has said that he is giving the Republicans 1 week to make a decision, or he plans on moving on without them. In other brief news,
moving
Lori
on.
Lightfoot.
Whoa, hold on. Moving on without them.
What? That's the poking. He's poking at them. Mind you, he's been poking that for the
What does
last two
that
weeks.
mean?
I think he's going to try to push it through.
What? He's going to try to push it through with his 50. But
Mm-hmm.
all good and well if he pushes it through with Joe Manchin. I hate it, but that's constitutionally legitimate.
Right,
No
but he's
good
been.
if he thinks he's going to do it with executive orders.
I don't know. Obviously, I don't. But I don't know if Joe Biden knows where he is right now. So I don't know if he knows exactly which way he's going to do
Yeah,
it.
I should say his people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Beyond that, Lori Lightfoot, mayor of Chicago, has been making some news lately, where apparently she got reelected, or it was her second term in office. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly which it was, but she specifically said when this little event occurred that she would only be getting interviews by African American and Hispanic dash other people of color. She would only be giving interviews to those individuals,
That's
and
so
in
sad.
turn,
It's like I know that she's not, you know, the forerunner of thought on her side necessarily, but it's so sad that an African American governor is governor or mayor, mayor, right?
yeah,
Mayor of
she's a
Chicago
mayor, and she's LGBT. She's a
chooses to
lesbian.
segregate people.
Yeah. And again, she mentioned that she's also a lesbian. She's pushing
Is she
her own
invoking freedom
words.
of association?
She said there's not enough people of color in media, and that by giving interviews to people of color,
Oh,
that
so
will
affirmative action.
forced affirmative action.
Well, that's what affirmative action is. It's
Yes,
action
but
taken.
specifically coming from her office. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning this is that somebody is suing her on the grounds of the 14th Amendment, saying
Yeah.
this is racist.
Look, if I can't decide not to sell my home to somebody because of their religion, then how can she decide who to take interviews from because of their skin color?
Right. And Viva Fry had something very good on that last night. So check him out. He's definitely bringing that into account. So there's that. And and the Biden administration is pushing the COVID vaccine still, um, pushing the idea that if you get the vaccine, you can run around without a mask and do what you want to do. Now, mind you, um, I can't say anything. I went to Giant yesterday. I went to all these different places, and I'm not wearing a mask. Most of the stores, most people aren't wearing masks, except for the grocery store. There was, I would say 2/3 of individuals were wearing masks, and maybe about a third were not. But they're pushing the idea of a possible third dose. So that is something that is coming out of the woodwork. We'll have to see where that goes. Um, let's see here.
I can't imagine anybody wanting a third dose. Actually, I can imagine people wanting that. But I can't
Right.
imagine. I mean, so who's paying for that?
Well, that's what I'm curious about, right? Obviously, the U.S. government paid for the first two, or we did. But the third one, they haven't really said what they want to do yet. Again, this was poked at by Pfizer, like, oh, you're gonna need a third dose. You should get one.
You're going to need to buy our product again.
Right, right. I'm not interested in any of that. So we'll have to see. But again, this is a campaign that the Biden administration is saying, oh, if you get the vaccine, you can go do all these different things. Look, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this.
Which implies that if you don't, you can't.
Well, that's exactly what it is. Because technically, right now, at least in the state of Pennsylvania, you are allowed to go into a number of stores, and you can specifically say, oh, oh, sorry, I had a problem there. You're vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. I don't have to wear a mask unless the store has a specific
I have to
accountability.
tell them whether or not I'm vaccinated
Well, no one has touched that yet, from what I
because
understand.
that violates HIPAA.
Right. So there's that there. Although, actually, something I failed to mention too. Yesterday, apparently, the U.S. government did say that businesses can tell you that you have to get the vaccine to be employed there. That came out of the Fed yesterday.
The government can do that.
No, no, no. The Fed said that that businesses can tell their employees to get the vaccine to work there.
Can they also tell them they're not allowed to get the vaccine to work there?
No, talking about people
No, no,
going
no.
into.
I'm saying so based on that interpretation of our laws, which I assume is what it was, an interpretation of the law, not a mandate. A business could also say we refuse to hire anybody who has gotten the vaccine. Not
Possible.
not that it would be incentivized to do so, but just theoretically,
Yeah, theoretically, I suppose you certainly could do that. I mean, that's
under the
what
same
businesses
logic,
usually do.
which is that a business owner can decide what they want from their employees. Maybe they could also discriminate against people who choose to wear red hats.
Hmm.
So
I mean,
which discriminations are appropriate and which are not, and why?
completely depends on the current administration there.
Oh, so the administration decides whether or not it's appropriate to discriminate in a small business.
Well, apparently, yes, because the last thing I want to get into, which I think this is a good segue to poke at, what we're going to call the black budget of the U.S. government. And I only say that because the reader makes this wonderful PDF document black, and it's easier
It's
for
way
us to
more
read.
fun this way.
Yeah, but also economically, we wouldn't be just in the red, we would be in the black. Oh,
What?
scary. What?
No.
No, I'm just talking about a sky. I knew that. Poke, 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 poke.
No, I think what's black about this budget is that there is a lot that is not defined and comes from nebulous places.
Right. Like I had full intentions, and I'm openly admitting this, and for all the people listening, I'm sure you can understand where I wanted to take the time. I wanted to read through the 72 pages of that this is, but when you're being poked in the side of the head by your child, like you got to make a choice, like which one's more important.
Read the Bills Act. Nothing should be less
Yes,
than
yes,
1 page per day.
yes, yes, yes. Well, between that and listening to Hero, and I'm about to dive into another book, audiobook. I'm thinking about the Seven Pillars of Wisdom. Like,
Oh God, yeah.
yeah, oh god. So let's dive into this. I got
Sure.
about halfway through, and I'm just going to tell all of our watchers here, our listeners, that my full intent is to get every reaction possible that I can squeeze out of Cabinet. Just by allowing him to slowly poke through and to see the landmines he runs into, it should be interesting.
Oh God. All right. Very well.
So, and again, we're not going to stop at everything, but the full documentation, all of this is here's why we need to spend this money. Here's why we need to spend this money now. And this was a big thing that the Biden administration was saying is that, oh, well, because the interest rates are currently really low, this is the perfect time to buy, 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 buy.
Okay. So to clarify, this is available on the White House website. It's publicly available. Most transparent administration ever, right? Um, but of course, what is in it is not, I think, is not going to be a detailed breakdown of the actual U.S. budget. I think it's going to be a spin document of what the White House wants people to believe the U.S. budget is, and expects people not to read most of this, but just read the headlines.
Of course. And I mean, well, that's the thing. People aren't going to read this. They're going to read what USA Today or CNBC or Reuters or whoever is going to just, neatly cut out different pieces of this, which is funny. If you go and look at the news articles, they take like, 5 or 6 big headlines and that's it. They don't
Yeah.
go into anything else.
All right.
So just
So,
meander through. Oh, yeah, you just stop there to table of contents, see if you find
budget
anything entertaining
message of
about
the
that.
president confronting the pandemic and rescuing the economy. When has the United States government ever rescued, quote, the economy?
I'm sure there's some people that would say World War II, prior, FDR.
So the accident of a Nazi regime and an imperial Japan rising bailed us out of the Great Depression.
Well, you could argue maybe the preemptive parts of that, where FDR's, civil works programs, and then the
I would argue
war
those
bailed us out.
exacerbated the Depression
Mm. Like I said,
and
some
created
people.
systemic problems that are still with us, like the
Hmm.
grain subsidy.
Oh, so many things, so many things. So, yeah, is there
Building
anything
back
interesting there?
better.
The most horrible slogan ever.
First of all, I reject rescuing, right? I,
Hmm.
back I reject entirely the concept that government can rescue the economy. What they mean is rescuing the perception of the economy based on unemployment rates in the stock market for the
Right,
duration of our 4 years of administration so that we can get reelected.
right. Now, if you don't mind, would you zoom in a little bit there?
Oh, yep.
I want to get some better view. There we go. All right, go ahead. Work your way down. Work your way down.
Building back better. What the hell does that mean?
It's
We've
a
heard
slogan.
this now for a year. What the hell does it mean?
Go down, find out.
Delivering results for all Americans through an equitable. Ugh, I hate that word.
Yep, I knew
Effective
that was going to get you.
and accountable. Accountable. That's funny. Um,
Very accountable.
yeah. Let's see how their accounting that adds up. Um, summary tables. Blah. All right. I don't even know what the hell is OMW contributors. Oh, it's a special thanks. So this
Hmm.
is the list of people who are Marxists and should be ejected from the country.
There you go. Oh yeah, and all the figures you saw there. Oh
Oh
jeez,
God. All right. Just kidding. I think Marxists should be allowed to live here too. Just maybe not allowed to have megaphones. Okay.
So the budget message of the president, not really worth getting into. I want to see more of
So
the meat and
some
potatoes.
staff person wrote this, right? Like he didn't read it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, they love bringing up World War II. Okay.
Yeah, he pokes at that.
DARPA. What? Expanding economic. In the 1950s, DoD created DARPA, yes, to enhance our national security, yes. DARPA's work helped lead the creation of the Internet Global Positioning System, yes. Oh. You want to make a civilian DARPA. Oh. That's awful. It's awful for a
Yes,
number of reasons. DARPA created those things by accident out of necessity in an existential fight with the Soviet Union. Those sorts of things don't get. Oh my God. And even there, in many cases, those things were developed by small, independent individuals under the auspices of a government program. And then their ideas were co opted militarily and then eventually released. Uh, no, you can't. You can't. Oh my God. War on cancer, war on diabetes, war on incredible scientific capacity. No, sorry. War on Alzheimer's.
money, money,
Expanding
money.
ACA, expanding Medicaid, expanding Medicare. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Oh man, here we go.
There we go. Let's talk about this for a minute.
The most beautiful and horrifying thing all in the same instance. Well, not really beautiful,
It
but
is,
it's a beautiful educational tool.
yeah. Here we go. Where's military spending? We had it before. Yeah, here we go. Medicare already makes up the largest single budget item for
And
the
it's
United
only going to go
States.
up.
The largest single budget. So the United States thinks Medicare is more important than aircraft carriers by double at present.
So, and again, for all you watching, listening, this is a wonderful tool that is used in certain spheres for some of our younger individuals. When we show students this, it's incredible to see their reactions.
Interest on the debt is more than half of U.S. military spending. Our interest on our debt exceeds it is greater than
More than half.
is a larger expenditure than every other nation's military except for Russia, China, North Korea, and Japan. Like hold on. Global firepower, excellent resource also.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, take it with a giant grain of salt. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
top powers. Overview. Wait, no, wait. That's the U.S. Where's the ranking? Number one, number two, number three, number four, number five. Um, can I
Kind of
sort by
fascinating. How did Japan get up there?
Japan's in the last 20 years has been really putting its stuff out there.
Hmm.
They've also had a good economy generally, with some exceptions. 1998 was not a good time for Japan, but
Hmm.
when you're what did somebody say? It might be a pig in lipstick, but it's still the prettiest girl at the ball.
Hmm.
The world's economies are not good. Lots of people are in debt. Japan is a little better off than some of its neighbors. But hold
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Military spending by
Yeah. Let's
country. Yeah, it's
yeah. I
just
want to
just
see that.
rather than global firepower.
Yeah. I'm,
They
I'm
they used
curious
to
because
provide this. We'll just say as a share of GDP.
there we
So Oman spends 8% of its GDP. Um, as a
What
share of
about just
government spending. What is this? Where's. Hold on. Military spending totals.
what about
Okay.
to it's right there.
So, the United States spends $778 billion on its military. China spends supposedly $252 billion on its military. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
well, look, we don't always get our bang for our buck. But what's crazy here is that our spending on debt exceeds the next six nations' military spending combined. Our spending on debt, our spending on healthcare in the United States exceeds all of this combined.
Can't say I'm surprised by that.
That's disgusting. I'm
Yeah.
surprised by that because that's not the way it was growing up. Growing
No.
up in the
No. It certainly wasn't.
1990s, I was able to see that. Um, I was often told, "Oh, we spend so much on our military. Yeah, it's the best in the world, but maybe we shouldn't spend so much. Look how big a budget item it is. It could bankrupt us. It would be bad if our if our debt exceeds our GDP, now we're here. And now Medicare and Social Security, each on their own, exceed military spending. And we are coming to thunderheads with China. China is a belligerent nation that is seeking the subjugation of the United States and is pursuing it by every means possible.
Well, the Biden administration is definitely be pouring money into more domestically oriented things. Although I don't
But
think
I mean, the
Biden's
idea
going
that
to
you would
ignore.
create a DARPA for Medicare is obscene to me. Cancer is cancer. Diabetes is diabetes. Alzheimer's is Alzheimer's. You're not going to win wars with these things.
Oh yeah, I'm going to win wars in voting booth because I'm going to say that it is
It's an invisible
disaffectionately
enemy that you can
proportionating.
fight forever.
Well, yeah,
You can be
but it's
elected over and over again to continue fighting it.
they're doing it on racial grounds. I mean, look what they said about COVID. That COVID was disaffectionately or proportionately disaffecting or
Yeah.
infecting
The
minority groups.
disaffected individuals, yes.
Right. So now they're going to say the same thing with all of these diseases. And they're going to say that's the fault of the previous regime. So that's the reason you need to keep electing Democrats in so they can fix that problem.
The budget invests. The
Yep,
budget
you hate that word. I know you do.
invests. It's just fundamentally wrong. That's not what it does. It's a lie. It's just lies and lies and lies. And it's
So
lying in the most specious, obnoxious way possible, which is you bury it in some academic language, and people assume that you're smart and you must know what you're doing.
don't forget the $1,400 checks that go out to people to shut them up too.
Yeah.
So let's move on. I don't want to. I don't
Sorry.
want you to get you stuck on the Joe Biden message
Very good.
and his horrible
Let's move
aviators.
to the propagandistic rhetoric in here. Confronting the pandemic and quote rescuing the economy.
Now, again, I want you to focus on the bold text as you move down, because otherwise you'll be here forever. We're only on page 9,
All right. So
so you need
so
to keep
so
moving
only the headlines.
for now. And when you
Okay.
find something interesting, then you can
Inheriting
read
historic challenges.
because
What
Orange
historic
Man
challenges?
bad and COVID.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, Trump left me in a historically worst possible place than ever any American president ever. Got it. Yeah, right. Then you
That's
spent a lot of time talking about how Hispanics and various disaffected minority groups are being hurt by COVID. Right?
yep, that goes in there. Yep, and that the infrastructure is falling apart, so we need to fix it. Here
Building
you
back
go.
better. The American Jobs Plan. Oh, this is how the space. They're retelling history, right? He who controls the past controls the. He who controls the.
He who controls the future controls the past.
No, it's he who controls the
Oh,
present controls the past. He who controls the past controls the future.
yes, there it was. Yes, I was going to say, I'm like, man, I said it, and I know I made a mistake. Let's do
They're
it.
they're they're retelling the fairy tale of America in the 20th century, and it's focused on the government stepped in and did all these great things.
That's the plan. So they go into detail about the infrastructure and that this is why this is the moment to spend the money on this now in such a grandiose way. Here you go. Now
Oh,
you're getting
here's
into
the
the
bold
meat and
sections. All right,
potatoes.
fixes highways, rebuilds bridges, upgrades ports, airports, and transit systems. Okay, why aren't the states paying for their own bridges, ports, airports, and transit systems that they have allowed to crumble in favor of social spending, like spending on Medicare, that is unjustifiable?
I guess the states have no idea what they're doing. Their
Oh,
cabinet,
okay. So the government needs to step in and spend money on it. Look, if there's a
right?
bridge between two states and it's like I don't know, a vital junction for the country, maybe Uncle Sam has a casus belli to get involved, but probably not. Delivers
Yeah,
clean drinking water. Okay, how? Eliminate all lead pipes and service lines in drinking water systems Okay. How are you?
Yep.
So I'm for banning lead pipes carrying water. Didn't we do that in the 60s?
He, yeah, apparently the Biden administration is saying that not enough of that was done, and hence this plan would pay for those things to be fixed.
We shouldn't be paying for those things to be fixed. It should just be illegal to use lead pipes. That's it. There should be no paying.
Well, I mean,
Um,
I don't think anyone's using lead pipes anymore, but you still got
oh,
to dig them
no,
in the right
no.
places.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. This is BS. So people want to he wants people to read this and see clean drinking water. Yes, I agree with that, of course. He wants to subsidize internet to all Americans.
I was going to say
BS.
that's next.
That's going to cause internet prices to go up. It's going to cause service quality to go down. And they're like, oh, well, it's subsidized, so who cares what the price is? There's supply and demand. If I live in Bumbleville, Kansas, in the middle of nowhere, I should have to pay more for better internet than a person who lives in the middle of Manhattan. That's just natural law. Like, there's no
Yeah, there was an
equitable.
article.
This is going to be the socialization of internet. Oh, and of course, even scummier, right? If it weren't bad enough that I will end up with slower internet that behaves worse than I have now, they're also going to use this as a tool for manipulating what is allowed to be carried over the internet or who should be allowed to be spied on and all that stuff. Go ahead with your article.
No, it's kind of the case. And what's fascinating, there was an article, I think it was on USA Today. I'm trying to remember. I was reading yesterday, where it was an opinion piece that was kind of directly going in the same direction. They're saying, oh yeah, you should expect prices of internet to be raised substantially, like immensely. You're going to see all these cheap internet
And
prices
this
all of a
was a
sudden.
fluff piece trying to talk it up and how that was a
No,
good thing.
no.
Okay,
It was
yeah,
the opposite.
gotcha.
That's what was fascinating is
But
that the guy's saying,
sometimes they wear it on their sleeve.
no, he said, watch out because this is what's going to happen. You're going to
Yeah.
see all these great deals, but you're going to get mowed down because of this. And he brought in the concept of, if this goes through, you're going to see prices go up substantially.
Yeah. Or you're just going to see your service plummet. You know, you're going to see like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm not allowed to pay for faster internet because that would be unfair and inequitable.
Oh, that's going to come up later. You keep rolling, keep rolling.
Builds, preserves, and retrofits more than 2 million homes. What? What?
Energy efficiency.
Federal housing? No, there shouldn't be
Not,
federal housing.
it's not completely federal housing. It's just making it more energy efficient, they say.
What's a home? Isn't that a place where a person lives?
Indeed.
Don't I pay for my roof?
Indeed.
Why should the government have anything to do with that? Get out of my
Well, the
house,
government
government.
the government wants you to put in like solar panels, like they're
No,
pushing in Pennsylvania right
no,
now.
screw you. That's not efficient. It's only
Well,
efficient because it's subsidized.
that's the thing is that they're actually, and I honestly said I was looking at because my wife was interested, and like I guarantee it's not going to be what you think it is, but I'll look it up. The U.S. or excuse me, Pennsylvania said they would pay for 25% of us putting solar panels on our roof,
Yeah,
which and they said,
but
oh, it's going to
but
go up if this
let's
plant
say
goes
they
up.
paid for 100%. That's still terrible.
Yeah, that means everyone's paying for my solar panel I would put on my roof if I ever
Yeah,
did it.
everyone's paying for you to get free electricity. So I rent a house,
Right,
or I rent an apartment. Um,
right.
how does that help me? So, who has more wealth at this moment, you or I, in general? I'm not saying this in an antagonistic way. I'm just saying this for the people who think it's about haves and have-nots, like you do, because you're investing in a home. Like I've got some, on paper, I come out ahead. You're technically in debt, but long run, you are the wealthier citizen. You own land, so you're
Yeah, but
taking money
you could
from
be
people
saving up.
who are living in apartments, and you're giving it to people who own homes.
It's interesting to see what their plan is here. Well, I mean, there's so many factors, right? Because even if you do put in solar panels or something that makes quote more energy efficient homes, you still might get rickrolled a little later on because certain states will forcibly they will tax you to have clean energy, so they're double dipping.
Yep. But it's just, I mean, the idea of clean energy is insane. Um,
Oh, you keep
yeah,
moving, please. You're going to
solidifies
see
the
more.
infrastructure of America's care economy by creating jobs and raising wages and benefits for essential home care workers. What the hell are those? And why are they essential? Have you ever met a home care worker?
No, I I know what they think they are, but
Revitalizes manufacturing, secures U.S. supply chains, invests in R&D, and trains Americans for the jobs of the future.
if
Uh,
you're in a rural job that is not seen to be important, coal miners or anyone like that, you need to repurpose your job. That's what that is
that's terrible. So all of this is horrendous, like sort of warping of the economy.
from the
Um,
Democratic perspective. Yes,
but from the conservative perspective, the government has no place in the economy, or as little involvement as possible.
if you're creating a program like DARPA on a civilian level, you have no intention of moving yourself out of the economy if you're the
Creates good quality jobs that pay prevailing wages. What are prevailing wages? In safe and healthy workplaces while ensuring workers have free and fair choice to organize. Gross.
Yep.
Gross. I hate OSHA.
Let's help my unions.
And OSHA.
Yep,
Don't
yep,
forget
yep.
the workplace has to be safe and healthy. And by the way, guess who gets to define health? Oh, mental health is an important part of the workplace. Don't you need some critical race theory?
Oh, don't worry. That's going to get. Yeah, that's true. Actually, if we failed to mention that in the beginning, we might be getting to that maybe next week.
Free and fair choice to organize. How about free and fair choice not to organize? Is that free also?
Keep moving.
Isn't this a
Keep
right to
moving.
work state? So they want to come down on Pennsylvania being a right to work state. Bargain collectively with their employers. Restructures the corporate tax code to ensure that wealthy corporations pay their fair share and invest here at home. Okay. Oh, here's the math.
Mm-hmm.
Made in America tax plan includes a 28% corporate tax rate and global minimum tax alongside a strong incentive for other countries to enact reasonable minimum. In other words, force all the other countries to have bad economies too.
Poke, 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 poke.
Confiscatory. But it's like they're acting like, oh, this is just being used as an incentive to make sure that the companies stay here in the United States. What's the money for?
See, and that's something that's probably going to happen. Is I'm curious how many of those businesses, that did come back, are going to, just move themselves again. But that's going to
Of
be
course they
difficult to
will.
do in a 4-year time period.
Well, and they're going to try and punish them for doing it. But
Well, of course they're going to try, but
but
some
but it's
businesses are going to have the power just to do it anyway and say, "Screw off."
it's just crazy that you think of taxes as a carrot and stick to manipulate corporations into behaving the way you want. Isn't the tax supposed to be a collection from the public funds for the purpose of doing things that need to be done to protect the country as a whole? That's why the government exists. Security.
I
So
think
so
some
what's
politicians.
your excuse for collecting this? I want to raise taxes.
Uh,
Why? Oh,
it
because we're
is.
in debt. Well, why are we in debt? Well, because we bought things we shouldn't have bought.
Oh, they're going to say, well, at least what the big push from the Democratic Party right now is that, oh, well, tax cuts. Those tax cuts that were given by the Trump administration should not
Those
have
evil
occurred.
Trump tax cuts were given to rich people.
Right.
Oh,
It's the tax cuts. We
because
need to
none of these
raise
people have
taxes
ever
on the
seen
wealthy.
or understood the Laffer curve.
How many people on Capitol Hill know what that is? Oh,
American
okay. Keep going.
Families
Keep going.
Plan. I don't know what American Family Rescue Act. What the hell is this?
Look at all the things I did already. That's what that is.
Adds at least 4 years of free education. This is BS.
Yep, there it is.
We already over-educate our kids and under experience them.
So that's thrown in there. Then
That's
you have the thing
disgusting.
below it provides direct
3 and 4
support to
year olds
children and
shouldn't be
families.
giving. Oh, so we can start indoctrinating them when they're 3. Cool. Oh, black colleges and universities, historically black colleges and universities, tribal
Hmm.
colleges and universities, minority. So, okay, segregation, money for these institutions, gross. I thought I lived in
Hmm.
a forward-thinking, progressive society where we were going to not be judging people by the color of their skin.
Critical race theory. There it is again.
Provides a direct support to children and families. Okay, just here's money for having children.
Hmm.
Terrible. And by the way, I'm not a fan of, like, I think that children are wonderful and we should have more children, and uh, I'm not a, like, population extremist where I think that we should be controlling the population in any way. Um, I think that people should try to make plans for children.
Right.
Unplanned children are not great, but unplanned children are still good.
Right. I know where
Um,
you're heading. I know what you're explaining. I mean,
it's
obviously,
just
I have a child, but I understand that you should consider how, having a child is,
it's a
obviously a huge
responsibility.
choice. Right.
And a great opportunity and a chance to leave your mark in the world because you're going to leave. You die, your child lives on, right?
And you
And
need to
that's the
think
whole
about,
purpose of existence. It's the telos for your very being.
you
And
need to
yet,
think about the fiscal responsibilities too with that.
yeah, this is obscene. It makes me wretch. Okay. Support tax reform that rewards work and not wealth. What's that mean?
Yeah, that one stuck out.
What does that mean? What, wealth comes from work. Sometimes it comes from ancillary places, but generally, wealth comes from work. Our
So there, yeah,
system, the free market capitalist system, such as it remains in existence, despite all the nibbling at the edges of it, does reward work. I can go start my own business right now. Even this government can't stop me. And if I put the hard work in and I'm really disciplined, I'm going to have a much better chance of success than if I don't. So, what the heck is this?
well, this is what we talked about earlier, where he wants to go after the wealthy. He wants to change the tax code, and I don't know. I'm sure it's in here somewhere, but I haven't noticed it yet. He wants to basically double the size of the IRS.
Uh, that that glorious institution of trustworthiness and respect and organization.
Well, he wants to double its size, at
Okay,
least double.
so he can use it as a cudgel to go after his political opponents, like his predecessor did.
Indeed.
Um, his yeah, reinvesting the foundations of the nation's strength. What?
Go on, go down.
Grow the middle class. Blah blah blah. The
Yeah, this is
EPA is the foundation of the nation's strength.
yeah, yeah.
COVID and the CDC have to do with the nation's strength. None of those things is related to the strengths of the United States. That's that's obscene. I mean, it's going to be shock after shock. It's just like I disagree with this wholeheartedly, every word of it.
Oh, it's insane.
Improving education, yeah, by throwing more money at it, huh? That's always worked in the past.
At the high poverty schools, nonetheless.
The, has there ever been a time where test scores have improved as a result of throwing money at high poverty schools?
If it has not been substantial. So
Has
practically
there ever
no.
been a higher, a lowered college dropout rate or a higher college acceptance rate as a result of throwing money at failing schools? Things need to be
I mean,
allowed to fail so they die, so new things can take their place.
clearly, I think the Democrats think that this is just a fact of life, that I have to throw money at schools that are not succeeding, and that's the only way we can fix things. But it's not. It's
It's
not
not.
how
It
that
never
works.
works.
How
What was working to some extent were the charter schools, even though that was, I consider that also an intrusion in the economy. But once the government's already providing education, I guess I would prefer to go to completely private education, no public education, zero.
Yeah, but the Dems are going to say that people can't afford that, and they're
That's
going to say
nice.
that you're not doing your job as a government. That's what they're going to claim.
I think you would see tremendous results. I think that your best and brightest would climb higher. I think your lowest would even be better served, and the kids in the middle would find different avenues and more specifically tailored um, places for them to go, appropriate to their means and appropriate to their aims. And there would be scholarships and all kinds of other things.
Now, not to interrupt you, but this is the first time in the whole document where I started to notice that they're actually listing off numbers of how much things are going to cost. Everything else above so far, they haven't said how much any of that is going to
Oh,
cost.
they want to brag about this.
Right. So
All
go
right,
ahead
so,
and
so,
we'll
so
see
they,
there in the
they,
left.
they think this is an unmitigated good, and access to affordable early child care is something everybody wants and everyone will support. I oppose this.
Yeah. So there you go. 7.4 billion.
7 billion for child care, 1.5 billion. These are only billions. This is actually small potatoes. It's pennies on the
Right.
budget.
But it's still, you want to show, look at
This
this
each
number.
of these numbers is less than a penny of our total yearly expenditure per dollar.
Well, remember, this is just the beginning. He
Okay,
wants to
but
two,
these
three
numbers
years
still
and
look
years and
big
years.
to the normal person because the normal person doesn't have $1 billion burning a hole in their pocket. Don't worry, you soon will, and nobody will want it.
Right.
Boost support for children with disabilities. Okay, who who wants to shoot puppies?
Yep. Exactly.
Who dislikes disabled children?
Those seals are so cute. Please don't club them.
Prioritizes physical and mental well-being of students. What what is this? This is the indoctrination. So this mental well-being is an excuse for just like full-on funneling in of Marxism.
It's just paying for all the damage that was done by keeping kids out of schools.
Increase Pell Grants and expand institutional and student support. Pell Grants are terrible. People never pay them back.
Yep. Big money. There you go. There you go. Advancing dignity, equity, and security.
Oh, minority-owned businesses. Bonus for you. This hurts these businesses. It doesn't just like you'd say, oh, it's not fair. If you're a white person and you own a business, then the business across the street gets this bonus and it helps them out. It's not even that bad as that would be. It hurts the business you give the money to because it teaches it not to be good at what it does. It teaches it to exist for existing. This is why government programs are so damned inefficient to begin with. This is why the IRS is such a disaster. This is why the DMV is a disaster.
Well, that's why they're going to throw
It doesn't
double the
have to
money into it.
compete. So when you throw money at somebody so that they don't compete, they become weaker. If I carry you up the stairs every day, not that I could, but if I did somehow, you would stop being able to climb the stairs for yourself.
Or at least view the process as not being so important. I would become reliant on the
Yeah,
person, you,
yeah, you would get
helping
used to
me.
it. You'd start to expect it. Increases rural
Mm-hmm.
outreach and connectivity. In other words, wait, what the? There's so many disgusting stuff in this. What in God's blessed name is the
Here you
strike
go.
force?
The budget also provides an increase of 65 million, which is pennies, from the 2021 enacted level for the rural e-connectivity program Reconnect for rural broadband.
Gross. So the government takeover of telecom.
Let me find out what Strike Force is.
Did he create a military organization to do this?
Well, it is a war on poverty, remember?
Worked so well when Lyndon B. Johnson did it.
Now I got to figure out what is strike force because there's a million different types of strike force.
Budget also includes $318 million for rural commissions, which provide economic development assistance in distressed rural communities through infrastructure investments, workforce development, and other activities. Ooh, activities! We're going to send those rural yokels to camps where they can learn how to properly appreciate the socialism being foisted on them. Spurs infrastructure
Like it.
modernization. What's that?
I was going to say there, and you'll like it.
And you'll like it. Yeah, exactly. Other activities. Spurs infrastructure modernization, rehabilitation in marginalized communities. Oh, people need to be rehabilitated, don't you see? I mean, is this? Am I crazy? Granted, I see communists everywhere, but that sounds kind of Maoist to me.
No, I would certainly agree here. I'm still typing away trying to find out.
Gotcha.
They're calling this the Rural Strike Force.
Supports transportation equity. Don't you see? It's not fair that some people can get to and from work and others struggle to do so. Budget includes significant funding for major discretionary competitive grant programs, including rebuilding American infrastructure with sustainable and equity transit, capital investments, grants. Capital investment grants. And port infrastructure development grants. In addition, budget invests in rail as a down payment. Oh, gross. We're going to subsidize California's disastrous high-speed rail project.
Enjoy.
Another $110 million for a thriving communities initiative, which would foster transportation equity by providing capacity-building grants to undeserved communities. Wait, sorry, underserved communities. Ensures workers' health, safety, and rights are protected. Okay. Again, it's OSHA. OSHA on steroids. Gross. Strengthens the unemployment insurance system. What?
So Strike Force is essentially for rural growth and opportunity initiative plans.
Yes, that's what it said it was.
So it's like the Department of Agriculture is basically helping out like farmers and things of that nature, as well as other rural workers to get the money they need to grow their businesses. It's a government program you can basically get into, and the money goes to goes to you to basically upgrade and make things slightly better at your job site. Here you go.
That's terrible. But what's
Creates
more
jobs,
terrible is
builds
the
homes.
idea that we would quote strengthen the unemployment insurance system. And by the way, they didn't put numbers on this.
No, of course not.
Unemployment
Yep.
insurance is just wrong.
There it is.
Well, you have personal experience with this system.
Yes,
Do you think it should
I
exist at
do.
all?
If it was managed correctly,
It can't be. It's
obviously,
government.
I know it can. But that's the thing, right? Like there are going to be people that fall on hard times for a variety of reasons, and those people
Yes.
should be helped. But the problem is, it is so easy to con that system. It is so easy to
Right.
con that system.
So a much more appropriate system would be rely on your neighbors or family for help for a couple months.
Yeah, but again, that doesn't buy you votes. That's why. I
So
mean, the unemployment
what
system
is
is
that
there.
quote? They can vote for themselves. Here it is. Here's Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin sums up this entire problem. When the people find, here we go. When the people find that they can vote themselves money, that will herald the end of the republic.
There you go.
Here we are.
Man, I have not actually. I've never seen that one, and that makes so much sense. Holy Lord, Ben Franklin.
They were smart. They were so damn smart. They could
They
see
were,
into the future.
hey,
Expanding
but you
housing
right.
opportunity and reducing the racial wealth gap. Extends housing vouchers to 200,000 more families. What? What's a housing voucher? Have you ever seen a housing voucher?
Nope.
I'd like a housing voucher. I mean, no, I wouldn't, but what the
Again,
hell?
this is the government putting itself in every aspect. But this is the thing, right? Is do you believe, and I know you and I know me, do you believe the government should be able or should help with every aspect of your life? And there are voters out there that believe that if you desperately need it. Do I think there should be unemployment help out there for the U.S. government? Yes, I think there should, although I think it should be a little bit more state oriented, not federally. But there has to be a hard line. And the problem is that they don't make that line very hard.
Oh man, there was. I don't know. I don't know where it's from. I think it might be Alexis de Tocqueville. I have to find it, but there's a quote about like basically a system of laws so complex, so difficult to penetrate or understand, and so oppressive that even the most inventive people, the most sort of brilliant, can't uh, can't do anything. Right? They have to pack it
Right.
in. That's
But
that's
that's
this
the,
future. This is the stifling of the American dream. It's the stifling of American strength.
well, isn't that not what the Affordable Care Act was?
Yeah, but this is
It's the
that
same thing.
2.0.
Yeah, this is the
And
same
it's
thing.
the
This
same thing that
is
Medicaid was, frankly.
right. Those things are enshrined now to a point where you can't pull them out without destroying a chunk of the economy or destroying, at least from the perspective of the voters, people's lives. And
Yeah,
in doing that, you have created legislative armor.
it's like a parasite that links itself into the respiratory system of the host.
Right. And this is the problem. Here I am. I just said that there should be some sort of system in place to help those in need. We have that ability. We should.
Sure, there should
But
be. I agree. There should be like some kind of minimum safety net.
right. But
I don't
that's the
know that it
problem.
should be federal.
Right. And that's yeah. It should not be federal. It should be state oriented. Um, but they're not going to want to do it that way because again, that does not garnish you votes if you run for president.
Supports access to home ownership and pandemic relief. Oh, did you know you needed some pandemic relief monies?
I mean, was that not basically the checks we've been getting?
Yep. Hate those things.
Mm-hmm. Keep moving, because
Invest in
we're
man.
only on
I was
page
going to buy
20.
a computer last year, and that dream died when they cut those checks. Um,
Mm-hmm.
invest in affordable housing in tribal communities. What? 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 Wait.
Gotta help the minority
Um,
community.
if the Native Americans have tribal land, like, and they choose to live on the tribal land, it aren't they sort of recognized as a protected U.S. territory that makes its own laws and has its own economy?
But cabinet, we put them there, so we have to take responsibility for us being horrible, evil people.
Well, we shouldn't have wouldn't have could have put them there, but
Here you
it's
go. Money
been
fixes everything.
it's been 100 years since Geronimo died. Like, let's I don't know integrate. Um,
Buy votes. Buy votes.
creating jobs and growth now and for the future. Uh, the government creates no jobs.
At
The
least not
Department of
long-lasting
Defense and
ones.
Department of Energy manufacturing and innovation institutes. Uh, yeah, nope. Renews America's commitment to R&D. Maybe
Yeah, and
if
this is another big push.
I
Yeah,
could
this is the other
believe
thing.
any of this, there's a part of me that thinks we should actually be putting more into R&D. Like if what you want to do, if your goal is like clean energy or climate change, whatever, R&D is actually the place to do it, not in buying people solar panels. That's a terrible place to do it. But I feel like they want to do both, and they want to do both at an outsized level.
Right.
Also, I'm sure that these contracts won't be completely crony. Like I'm sure this will be an unbiased process where the best wins. Or no, it's going to be a process where the scientist who says he needs more money gets more money, so he gets more money.
Indeed.
because he says there's a problem that he needs to research more. And you're like, ooh, more money. Committing to criminal
Oh,
justice reform?
oh, here we go. Yeah, this whole section.
Oh my God, if this
So,
section mentions George Floyd, so help me. How about
I,
the death penalty for people who are really, really awful? So we don't spend millions and millions of dollars over the course of their entire lives letting them go, reincarcerating them, letting them go, reincarcerating them, finding different special prisons for them to live in because they're so violent to the neighboring prisoners. How about people who touch little children and are caught doing so more than once? Go away forever. Like off the surface of the earth. I'm not vengeful. I'm not vindictive. I don't think the government should be vengeful or vindictive, but it does have an obligation to carry out justice. That is to say, to be the hand of vengeance in some ways so that people don't take it on themselves. You don't need a Batman vigilante if the government is doing its job. Is that the kind of reform we're talking about?
apparently, they would say so.
Somehow I doubt it. They're talking about the sort of reform where we don't arrest people for nonviolent crimes, where we are much, much more lenient, where the police don't carry guns, where the police aren't allowed to use certain techniques. I assume that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, but don't you know those were just all mistakes? The reason that those people did those things is because of
Yep,
inequality and injustice and
yep.
a lack of
Fair, equitable.
equity.
So they're going to say it's
Yep.
tragedy of the commons. It's the nature of their circumstances. It's a zero-sum game, and it's not their fault. They're in the position they're in. There's nothing they can do about it. And life and a collection of bad experiences led them to this terrible, terrible act of touching a child or
I mean
shooting
that one
grandma.
that one's going to be tough to defend. But I mean, do we want to
Well,
go
I
back to the
just
very beginning of the
but
pandemic when
they did defend
AOC?
it. Like what was it? Ted Cruz and Rand Paul stood up to try and stop that, right?
Yeah,
And they wouldn't even make that change to the budget.
I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, AOC was like, "Oh well, people in New York are rioting. They should to get a loaf of bread. They need that. That's okay."
Yep. When it's people on the other side of the aisle. Oh, these people are dangerous. This is a terrorist act. This is the worst thing that ever happened to our country.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Environmental justice.
Yeah. Oh. I can't swallow it. I can't even read this stuff in this section.
44% increase in funding for the EPA's with the Brownfields program. Wait. Clean up contaminated properties and assist them in turning idle properties into hubs for economic revitalization. What?
Wait, so they're going to seize people's land?
No, it's land apparently they
Well,
already have.
idle properties. Who
Oh,
decides
that's a
whether or
good
not a
point.
property's idle? You're
Touche,
just
good point.
squatting on that estate.
God.
Maybe we're not there yet, but the language is preparing it.
Yeah. By the way, keep rolling. Page 39 is where they start going
All
into
right, man,
charts
I
and
gotta
stuff.
go.
But
All right, strengthening public health
roll.
and infrastructure and meeting crisis-related needs grows. Expands access to medical health care grows. Invests in efforts to end gender-based violence. Obscene, because you guys don't even know what gender is anymore. You can't even define it. Promotes health equity for American Indians and Alaska Natives. No, just no. I like American Indians and Alaska Natives, but they don't need special monies.
Addressing racial disparities in healthcare.
There are not racial disparities in healthcare.
They would claim there is.
They're creating them.
Yeah, and then they're going to say that it's a reason for them to throw money at a giant hospital in the middle of a place that people are doing horrible things they shouldn't be doing.
Reduces maternal mortality rate and ends race-based disparities in maternal mortality. In other words,
Oh,
pays for more abortions.
that was being, my God, I remember when that was being pushed during the Democratic uh,
Convention.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were, it's like, please. Oh God, that was just so annoying. It was
Th-
so
This
so annoying.
this is a push for prophylactics, a push for um, like sex education, and whether or not people want it, and a push for abortion.
Well, they were, and well, there's that. But I was looking more the other side, where they were saying, "Oh, well, when you have someone who is a minority in the hospital, they are not being treated to the same standard as a white person would be, and
Yep,
that's why the mortality rate is the way it
that
is."
stuff is also built in here, but
Mm-hmm.
it's being used as a tool, right?
Right,
They think they've already won that argument, right? And they're using that as a tool to fund their pet priorities, which
right.
are yeah. Um,
Ooh, what's this?
defeating other diseases in epidemics. Oh, we're going to launch our special program to defeat cancer and Alzheimer's.
Oh yeah,
Six
he
point
did
five
push that,
billion to
didn't he?
start, which is more than like most of the expenditures in the previous section, but still pennies on the trillion. Makes a major investment to help end opioid epidemic. Okay, how are you going to do that? By spending money?
Of course.
Nancy Reagan's Just Say No program actually worked out better than it historically appears to have, or is historically said to have, and
Hmm.
it didn't cost a dime.
See, and the other thing with this is, yes, we're going to throw money to stop people from doing these things, right? That's the claim. That's what that is. But in reality, where is that money going? What are you going to be doing differently,
It's going
right?
to
I mean,
specialists who specialize in addiction counseling. It's going to go to doctors who specialize in handing out certain meds, which are very, very expensive, which simulate the opioid effect and supposedly help people come down off it.
and don't forget that some of that money is going to be used to sue those companies.
Oh, of course.
They're going to go after those companies and they're going to double dip
Who
that
made the
money because they're
things
going to
that they subsidized to begin with?
exactly.
They subsidized the company to make the thing. Now the company has made the thing. Now the company's selling it. Now they want to sue them for selling it because it hurts people.
How dare, yeah, how dare you? How dare you? We're going to sue them. Up, top right. Combat the gun violence public
Gun
health
violence
epidemic.
epidemic. Did you know there was a gun violence epidemic?
Well, I mean, did you notice that you're starting to see more and more of those news articles?
You notice how you're using medical language to define everything? Because that
Hmm.
way people will have to follow the science. The
Well,
science. A widespread
their
occurrence
science.
of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. Do you think there is a gun violence epidemic?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you look at the media, they're starting to push those articles again. Oh, look, there was a shooting here. Oh, look, there was a shooting here. Oh, look, there was a shooting here. It's starting again.
There's lots of shootings. That doesn't mean it's an epidemic.
Well, if the media helps you push it.
Yeah. But again, like you get to use this medical language and then you say, oh, this is a mental health issue.
Let's see here. Hold on. The level supports existing programs to improve background check systems and invest in new programs to incentivize state adoptions of gun license laws and establish voluntary gun buyback pilot programs.
Disgusting.
who who is going to give your gun to the government?
People do. It's
Who?
sad. But you know what happens
Why?
is like the family member inherits it from somebody who died. And they're
Right.
like, oh,
That's
guns, those are scary. What do I do with them? Oh, thank God the government will take them from me.
oh my
I read a
god.
story about a grandmother who tried to turn in an STG 44 to a gun buyback program.
Uh,
You know how rare that thing is?
yeah, yeah, I do.
It's worth about $20,000, maybe $25,000.
And I wonder how much they got if they
The
actually
the
turned it into the government.
policeman wisely helped her find a museum,
One. See, there you go. Smart.
but sad.
Right, but at
What you
least
or I
like,
wouldn't give for some time on the range with an STG 44. What fun
oh
that
my
would be.
gosh.
What historical lessons we might learn. Anyway,
Right, but oh, hey, don't go down that road. That means that we are horrible, horrible gun-toting fanatics.
right.
How dare we actually enjoy the historic value as well as have an appreciation for the fact that this weapon is dangerous and that we take all care in making sure that it is safe when we use it in every possible way. Oh no, we're fanatics.
Yeah. Stopping the AIDS epidemic. See, same language.
Hmm. I
It-
need money for everything.
well, and the science says this is the right course of action.
Throwing money at everything.
Yes, because it's an epidemic, don't you know? And 9 out of 10 experts agree that this is what must be done. And if you don't
Well,
agree with this, then you're anti-science.
well, it's either an epidemic or a war on something.
Yeah. Building clean energy projects and investing in resilience improves energy efficiency, safety, and resilience of low-income homes. What?
here, here. This is Biden shaking his fist at Texas.
Oh, man.
I hate you,
Creates good
Texas.
paying jobs and building clean energy projects. Invests in
Government.
climate resilience and disaster planning. Oh, more. That's
There it is.
oh God. I still can't forget the big fat FEMA hug that occurred in 2012. If you guys don't know what the big fat FEMA hug is, look it up. Chris Christie, 2012 FEMA hug.
Yep.
Helps tribal nations address the climate situation. What climate crisis issues are the tribal nations dealing with?
Wait a minute. You're going to tell me that you're going to spend money on helping Native American communities who have lived without electricity and all those things for how many years and know the process of doing so?
Yeah, I was about to
They
say
need renewable energy?
the Native Americans need air conditioning.
I mean, I mean, not to sound like you're going
I'm
to say,
sure
oh,
that's
you
not
want them to
even
go
what it
back to the
is.
Stone Age. Oh, right. People are going to say, oh, how dare you? You want them to go back to the way they were. Well, I think
They
they
want them
might
to go
have
to renewable energy.
they might have a better
So here's
understanding.
what it is: the Native Americans who are enjoying their air conditioning and their like gas burning cars and are doing donuts with their pickup trucks or whatever the hell they do, are going to be told, no, this is not sufficiently civilized.
We can't have our prized individual groups look like they actually enjoy the other thing we don't want them to enjoy.
Capitalism
How dare you? Don't you know that's evil?
increases. It is a brave new world.
God, oh my
Right, right.
God.
Like the tribe lives on this reservation where they're allowed to behave like human beings.
Right. You know what's fascinating? I don't know why this is reminding me now. I was showing some of my students the other day. We were talking about westward expansionism, and I was showing like, look at these people who follow the train tracks, right? And you see these towns literally popping up out of the earth in
Yep,
like a
spring up out of
2 week
nowhere.
period.
Yep.
And just look at like the excitement. Look at all these businesses. Now, mind you, you see, you have people who are, peddling, snake oil and stuff like that. I said, but think about that. Like, look at that process, right? What is that process? Now, I said, now, mind you, that they're, yes, you could argue that the Native American lands were taken. The cavalry sitting there, but on the flip side, mind you, if you're an Irish immigrant coming all the way, you have no idea what's going on. You're just like, whoa, stuff. Look at all this, right?
Yep.
A lot of that a lot of that push comes from this idea of capitalism.
Yep. If you want to understand the relationship that we have with the natives, Dan Carlin does a really good. It's just one episode. I think it's about 3 hours long. It's called Apache Tears, and he delves into how the settlers viewed the natives, how the natives viewed the settlers, how there were so many different layers and shades of different groups and attitudes that they held and experiences and vendettas. It's really interesting, but it is not a one note song. It is not a two-dimensional story. It's complicated because they were humans.
Right, and that is something that is so fascinating, especially when we talk about like the French and the British. And I mean, if you look at some of the traders that worked hand in hand with Native American groups, married into certain parts of the tribe. But no, we can't promote that concept of humans being humans and having complex relations. We have to make it simple. That way, white man even.
Yeah, that way we can control the history and
Exactly.
thereby control the future.
Right.
Increases demand for American-made zero-emission vehicles. What? What?
I mean, you remember
No.
that Biden
Let's
said he
just
wanted that.
let's start with this. Forget what it is. Whatever comes after that.
Oh, speaking of capitalism,
When
you're right. Haha.
in the world has the government ever increased demand for anything?
how? Oh my God! I mean, that's a slip up in reality if someone's paying attention. I'm going to increase. No, you don't increase demand unless you forcibly do it by
Yeah,
putting taxes.
distortions on the economy. You can print money. That
Bastards, you
increases
bastards.
demand for everything, including gas-powered vehicles.
Well, I will mention openly that I
It
am
also
totally,
reduces the supply.
yeah, I've been investing in all sorts of oil companies and midstream partners,
Oh, it's all down
organizations.
right now because everybody thinks Biden's going to put the kibosh on it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
Now's
I
the
mean,
time to buy.
everything's 20, 30% down.
Yeah,
And,
it'll
you
come back.
know, well, yeah, the day that our aircraft, or, excuse me, bleh, the day our aircraft and tanks are using, complete solar will be the day I get out of oil
Yeah, it's true.
because, you know what I mean? It's not happening. It's
No,
just not happening.
your weed whacker still runs on gas. Come on.
Damn right. Well, I
Um,
mean, 10% ethanol. Damn
yeah,
corn.
gross. Just another government intrusion. Result a byproduct of our original grain subsidy. Um,
So much damn corn. Anyway, moving on.
increased demand for American-made zero-emission vehicles. It's terrible. You can't do that. 600 million for electric vehicles and charging infrastructure. Oh well.
Biden, with his aviators, would say, "Oh yes, I can."
Helping communities left behind. Left behind from what? Largest investment in environmental justice in history. To support
Cabinet.
marginalized and overburdened communities across the nation, the budget invests more than 1.4 billion, including 936 million, towards a new accelerating environmental and economic justice initiative at the EPA.
I mean, cabinet. Don't you know this is a fill in the blank answer? Fill in the blank. Oh well, there's got to be something in terms of what they were
Hold
marginalized for. Let's
polluters
figure it out and put it in
accountable.
there.
$100 million to develop a new community air quality monitoring and notification program, which would provide real time data in places with the highest level of exposure and pollution. Then we can sue those companies.
By the way, that might be a little off topic from what we're doing now, but I'm still getting so many news articles from so many random places about QAnon and
Yeah,
just like
QAnon is a counterintelligence operation.
it's
Might be
hysterical.
Russia, might be China. My biggest problem with it is that it takes people who would be skeptical of the US government and skeptical of its behavior, and it focuses their energy and attention in the wrong place where they believe there's a sort of messianic solution to all their problems coming if they just hang on long enough and do nothing.
See, and this is the problem, right? Is that if we're talking about the people who truly believe in QAnon, those are not mentally sane individuals, right? But then you have the group of people that, like, for example, I'm sure they're part of QAnon. Is a group of people at 4chan. They're like,
Yes.
thinking that they're just poking at this at liberals, so they panic and freak out.
There's
Of course, in
also
the
people who
process,
just aren't sure, and they hear enough to believe some of it.
do you know anyone?
Yeah,
Does
two
anyone listening
people.
to this know someone who believes in
I know
QAnon?
two people who buy into some of this stuff,
But
and
I don't want to get into it. Like, what do you mean
their
buy
mental
into it?
health is questionable,
Oh my god,
but it's not helping their mental health,
sure as hell isn't.
and I hate it. I hate it
I'm
because sometimes it's right, right? So a broken clock is right twice a day. So sometimes QAnon says something true, but it's like how could you even go after that thing now that QAnon said it? It must be false because QAnon said it.
well, Biden's not a lizard; he's a potato.
Yeah, but like, okay.
I sorry, I'm poking fun at
Well,
something
what I'm
that is
saying
for
is
sure.
like there are there are
Individuals who need help.
international gatherings of assholes at places like Davos
That is the best thing I think you've said. All go on, go on.
who are plotting quite openly to dismantle Western civilization in the name of a globalist future utopia. QAnon says some of that stuff, but it goes farther and it says, oh, they're lizard people or there's a secret planet or God knows what the hell they're going on about.
Well, or you have some of those people at Davos that are like, how can I get the money that the oil companies get and put it into my pocket?
Right. Like whatever their motives, they're they're filthy.
Right,
But the point is, like, I think that we ought to scrutinize what's going on there. And I don't think I need to believe that there's a secret um, demon worshipping ring of pedophiles at the highest offices in order to I don't know, have some questions about what Hunter Biden was up to or what Anthony
right,
Weiner was up to.
right.
So
It's it,
what I'm saying is it provides cover for them because it can be dismissed as a silly, completely unbelievable uh, uh, conspiracy theory.
right, and it's fascinating. The one main news agency I see that has grasped onto it is Vice. Vice is just totally grappled onto QAnon. Like every 3 to 4 of their stories that at least comes up on my feeds is like QAnon has done this lately. It's like, really, guys, that's it?
Yep.
That's what you have?
But they want to focus on that because
Yes, I know.
it's not picking.
It's just so sad.
If you
It's so
pick out the
sad.
nuts within the general sphere of your critics, then you can strawman your critics' arguments.
Right, and mind you, uh, I mean, that I guess there's people that are going to listen to this who might not agree with some of our perspectives, and they'll say, "Oh, well, aren't you doing the same thing to the entire liberal side of the
No, because I didn't go
curriculum?"
to the leftist conspiracy theory. I didn't go to Cenk Uygur.
Right, but
I mean,
like,
it's just funny because he seems or he's presented as legitimate. But I went to WhiteHouse.gov.
right, and that's the point I was going to bring up. Go on.
Okay. Um, if people want to go through stuff Trump published and go word by word and find things, sure. But
I,
if you want to beat up on QAnon, it's like, okay, that's not me. It's not most
right,
people. Um,
I,
increasing
I,
competitiveness through or I'm sorry, I'll let you have the last word.
yeah, yeah, no, it's just like what I guess what I was trying to get into, and I thought you were going to trip on it, but I guess you didn't. Was that we're sitting here, right, and we're not looking at every single person, mind you. You know, I mentioned AOC and certain individuals where I'm poking at them, and I think that their idea of liberalism is far in excess of what would actually
Well,
help or work for this
she's
country. And
wacko,
don't
but she's a duly elected congressperson, thereby fair game.
Right, but in the same instance, there's people out there that are going to listen to us and they're going to say, "Oh, you don't like anything the left does," and I say, "No, I could not disagree with that statement more." As I have some left leaning views, but in the same instance, I want to talk to people that are willing to talk, that are willing to meet me in the middle, that are willing to have a discussion. When you just start yelling and screaming that people on the right are fascist and crazy and believe that there's reptiles in the White House that are eating babies, that's not the majority of people on the right. Just like the vast majority of people on the left are not complete, socialist scumbags.
Yep. Um,
But just like you said, if you're in public office and you're saying crazy stuff, I'm going to say you're saying crazy shit.
yeah. It stands to reason.
And that goes both ways, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it does make me sad sometimes people want to leap to that.
Mm-hmm.
Spurs innovation in clean energy technologies. All right, so more spending. Gross.
Clean, 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 clean.
Drives breakthrough solutions in climate innovation. Drives breakthrough. The point of a breakthrough is you didn't know it was going to happen. You
Well,
can't say we're going to make a breakthrough.
if I throw money at it, I can claim it is. Wait a minute. What? Why does Noah need that much money?
What the hell is Noah?
Okay,
Oh
so
God!
they
Why does this
basically
exist?
no. So that exists. The only reason I know what that is whenever my family would go to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, my dad would religiously watch them for the hurricane information that they
Okay, all right. It's the National Weather Service. Oh, fine.
and research, right? Like they
Uh,
are very good with that.
okay.
But this is the thing. It's like they
$7 billion to
do
pay
their
them to say
job,
what we want them to say,
which are already
which is the science says that if you don't get on board with spending money on climate change, you're a bad person.
there. You go.
Look how look how reciprocal that is. They'll keep getting money that way. leading the world toward achieving the objectives of the Paris Agreement. Gross.
Oh,
This is
there you
why
go.
I was upset when we actually pulled out of the thing. I actually wanted to pull out of the thing, but I knew in my heart of hearts it wouldn't be permanent.
Right, and here we're back in again.
Gross.
All right, from
And
this point
China
forward, I have
laughs.
not seen. Yeah, I have not seen anything from this point forward. I haven't had time. So
Okay. Confronting 21st century security challenges. American leadership and mobilizes global action. Global action? Oh, great. We're going to do more UN stuff. Remember when we used to do UN stuff and how that worked out so well in the 90s?
it was incredible. Yeah,
Somalia was a
wonderful.
huge success. You know, I had a kid watch Black Hawk Down the other day, and then they were reading some about it, doing a little research paper for their English class, and they said, um, "Hey, is Somalia better off after we left, or worse?" And I was like, "That's a great question." I just let him go, you
He,
know.
I know exactly what student you're talking about because he came into my room and he was pacing back and forth talking about it. He's like, "My God, it was something. Oh, what a mess!" I just laughed.
But it's
Ugh.
sad, you know, because it's like they're young and they want to believe in things, and it's just like, well,
Oh, scroll back up. Not to interrupt you. Scroll back up.
oh
What
yeah,
was
sure.
Just saw it. Dang it. There you go. Provides $1 billion in foreign assistance to bring an end to the COVID-19 pandemic and expand global health security activities. Basically, we're throwing the vaccine at other people.
Yay!
You get a vaccine. You
Oh,
get a
well,
vaccine. You get a
you
vaccine.
get a vaccine and a critical theory pamphlet.
Oh, I forgot about that. And here you go.
By the way, you've got to be woke enough to receive this vaccine.
I'm
Um,
sure there's strings attached, but yes, of course there is.
counters 21st century challenges and threats in the name of the United States. Demands that you accept this attitude in order to receive the United.
Indeed.
So in the process, like the saddest part for me is that we besmirch the name of the United States in the process, and that the world believes that the United States wants this wokeness to propagate as a
What do you?
government. What's that?
Right. You're going to see that push slowly with a lot of different things. I'm fascinated with here. The budget prioritizes the need to counter the threat from China while also deterring the destabilizing behavior by Russia. Where's
Okay.
this going?
Leveraging the Pacific Deterrence Initiative and working together with allies and partners in the Indo Pacific region and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. What does NATO have to do with CETO? Just reform CETO. Oh,
Just
yes,
build
CETO
your
got us into
fucking,
Vietnam, but still.
or you can just build a bigger fucking navy.
Mm-hmm. Not with the infrastructure spending we're doing. Supposed
Mm,
infrastructure spending.
just
Um,
build a bigger fucking navy.
Federal cybersecurity budget provides 500 million. Ooh, 500 million. That's a lot in military terms, right?
Wow, amazing. I think I can buy like how many aircraft with that? Let's see. You
Zero
keep going.
F-35s. It's more expensive than that.
I was gonna say, yeah. How many F-35s is that?
One F-16.
I'll find out.
An additional 100 million for the cyber security and infrastructure secure. Okay, we're going to throw money at cybersecurity. Meanwhile, DoD was completely hacked and completely compromised last November. Throwing money at this is not going to solve it. Changing our institutional attitudes towards security might solve it. Demanding that important conversations be held in empty rooms with no cameras and no cell phones allowed, and the conversation be written on a piece of paper and passed back and forth and burned afterwards might improve our security situation. The best possible cyber security is not to have important things on the internet.
Oh, here you go. By the way, mind you, the F-35 they're claiming costs 80 million per craft, but that's not including the cost. Just to fly the damn thing.
Yep.
They're saying it costs $36,000 per hour to fly an F-35.
It's down to 80 million. We
So,
did
yeah,
eventually produce a butt ton of them. They,
so
they started out being more expensive than an F-22.
So there you go. That's ridiculous.
That's
That is so ridiculous.
80 million is actually relatively cheap.
I'm not
No, no,
saying
no.
that. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
the
Five.
amount of
Yeah, yeah. We
money.
could have. How many could we have? We could have at least 10, right?
Amazing. Wow, what a
Or
freaking
we could have
upgrade, you
five. We could have five.
idiots.
We could have five and change. So,
Meanwhile, the freaking Chinese are building ships out to
oh,
Yin Yang.
oh my God. The other thing, internet security. Man, I had a friend who went through. He went into the Marines. He was just a friend I played games with online. He's out of the military now. He's got a different point of view than he had when he was 19 and when he went in. But um, he was being trained for forward observer, and he had to learn the joint munitions, um, the joint ground attack call signs and stuff. And the manual, one day, he told me what he was like reading, and I looked it up on the internet. And it was just published on the Marine Corps' official website for all to read. Full PDF.
They just don't care anymore.
All the call signs, all the preferred attack vectors of every NATO aircraft.
They just it's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing.
So when I hear security, I laugh because money is not the problem. Integrity is the problem.
I hope that our security is really, really good to the point where I don't hear anything about it is that good. But I know that's not the case. When we are pulling people from, the Israel Defense Forces, we're pulling cybersecurity people from them to build our cybersecurity team. That's when you know there's a problem.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that for a long time. I mean, I'm clapping for the Israelis. They clearly
Yeah.
are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But
Well,
why
well, well.
don't
They've lived with an existential threat for their entire being, right? Like whether or not you like Israel, hate Israel, whatever, you've got to acknowledge their military is svelte because it doesn't
right,
have a choice, right?
right?
They
One of
can't
the
afford too much bloat.
probably the most experienced Air Force in the world, pilot per pilot.
Yep.
Not even taking into consideration their urban combat. I mean,
Well,
these
and
guys know
they
what they're
design
doing.
their equipment and their doctrines for what works. They're not. They can't afford like bells and whistles.
Right. And meanwhile, if we would just have 25% of that mentality.
Yeah. Strengthens
Anyway,
national immigration and asylum systems. Oh, cool. More
why?
asylum.
What? Oh, God, no.
The nation's badly damaged refugee admissions program, badly damaged by that evil Trump administration, will support up to 125,000 admissions in 2022.
What?
There are more than 125,000 people crossing the border right now.
What?
What do you? In
Are you,
addition,
are
the
you
budget
serious?
provides over 10 billion in humanitarian aid to support vulnerable people abroad.
Right.
Oh,
And that's the thing
you
he
see,
pushed.
if Venezuela just had money, if they just had American dollars, then those people wouldn't be coming here. Don't you know?
That's what Biden was pushing. A good point, by the way. Has everyone completely forgotten about what's going on at the border? Oh, that's right. It's been
Yeah,
4 news cycles
it's
now.
been
No one even cares
squelched.
what's going on there anymore. Look over here. Look over here.
Ugh. Upholds the nation's the nation's upholds the nation's sacred obligation to American veterans. Okay,
Yay,
the nation
English.
does have a sacred obligation to its veterans. The VA program has been a complete disaster, and once again, not for a lack of spending.
Don't
100
understand how they
billion
think
to
this
improve
way.
VA health care. 3.3 billion. Blah blah mental health. I
Which
hate this.
I know,
I
but
hate this so
I
much
mean,
because yes, veterans do struggle with mental health problems, but guess what? They're going to be, yeah, it's just going to be indoctrination. The president's healthcare agenda to lower costs and expand and improve coverage. Lowering the cost of prescription drugs by not allowing. Yeah, hold on. certain high-cost drugs, requiring manufacturers to pay rebates when drug prices rise faster than inflation. Oh my God. You're going to create an
Oh,
inflationary circumstance. Why would anybody make the drug?
because I'm going to force them to do so.
Yes, but if you lower the cost, you are basically, if you lower the profit margin, you will decrease supply.
Oh, the cost isn't going to be lowered. The government's just going to pay for that segment and then say that the cost is lowered, and they'll pay for the rest. Well, how do you pay for the rest? They're
Regulatory
just going to pay a
capture.
chunk
Yeah,
of
that's
it.
how the
Just
game gets played.
ridiculous.
So Bristol Myers Squibb gets on just fine.
Right, exactly.
Improving Medicare, Medicaid, and ACA coverage. Gross.
Oh, it's just so much. There's so much fat.
Eliminating Medicaid funding caps. Weren't those put in for a reason?
That's hysterical. Wait, go
Creating
back up.
additional. Yeah, go ahead. You want to read about Puerto Rico?
Yeah, obviously. Oh, don't worry, I'm a white oppressor clearly because I married a Puerto Rican woman. I didn't love her or anything. I'm a horrible person. Don't you know this? Caps for Puerto Rico, other territories while aligning nationally United States. Jesus God. All right, go
Yep.
on before I get into something we don't have time for.
Creating additional public coverage options. Gross. There should be less public coverage. There should be no public coverage options. Age 61 or the option to
Water.
enroll in Medicare program with the same premiums and benefits as current beneficiaries, but with financing separate from the medical trust fund. In states that have not expanded Medicaid, the president has proposed extending coverage to millions of people by providing premium-free Medicaid-like coverage. That won't reduce supply
That's
and drive
disgusting.
up private costs. The
Not at
impact of the
all.
president's policies on the nation's economic and budget outlook.
I think this is, or might not be the last page.
This
Maybe
is
it's
this is the
39.
budget. Yeah. Generating economic growth and shared prosperity. Don't you know all this is going to grow the economy and all boats will rise with the tide? But we just
Uh,
looked at all the ways that that's actually going to create horrendous inflation and supply shortages, hurting the economy and shutting down businesses.
Nothing like favoritism.
Title I school funding would help millions of children and low-income families to compete with high school and beyond. Free community college with Pell Grants, along with investments in registered apprenticeships, other labor management training programs. Disgusting. CRT, I bet. And other
Mm-hmm.
workforce training investments in the American Jobs Plan will give students the support to build skills directly applicable to good-paying jobs.
Well, CRT is the basis for all of this. Not well, let me
Or
not that they're going to be
the
completely teaching it everything.
philosophical route, yeah.
Right. Let's teach you about CRT because that's what got us here. That's what they're going to say.
Yep. Putting the
Wait,
nation on a
what?
fiscally
What?
responsible path. Yeah, that's hilarious. Hold a moment.
I'm choking. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Yes, you're going to be fiscally responsible by wanting to spend $7 trillion on the budget when what was it 1.7 trillion was considered high the last time we poked at this. That's like saying here, I know I have to pay for this item. Here's my entire wallet and all the money that I have. Just give me a little bit back, and then I walk away and tell my child, "Oh, I'm being responsible. Oh, by the way, how are we going to pay for dinner? Are you stupid? How can you say you're being fiscally responsible? Oh, that's right. I know how they're going to say that. That's why they doubled the size of the IRS. Because that's how they're going to become fiscally responsible by taking your money as a private citizen and allocating it in the way that they deem to be fit. That's how that's going to go.
Yep.
That's how they're going to be fiscally responsible. That's their claim.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't be fiscally responsible, U.S. citizen. You don't know what you're doing, but I do, and I'm going to do it for you
Yeah,
as I spend your tax dollars.
it's insane because if any person ran their household budget the way the government runs its budget, they would be in jail.
And think about that for a minute if you're listening to this. Think about how that works. Because those same basic principles that you have to balance your budget at your house, if the US government doesn't do that, what does that mean? Same principle, same concept, same money, just in different sizes.
Oh my God.
What would you see?
We're exporting these bad ideas in the name of America.
Yes.
Now I'm no longer proud to be an American.
Race to the bottom.
In other words, free market economics, which America gave as a great gift to the world throughout the 20th century, which created more prosperity and success and opportunity for more people than ever before, is going to be condemned as a backwards way of looking at things. And we're going to encourage governments across the world to raise taxes on their people and to abuse their people in the
Well, not
name of
necessarily
America,
just their.
in
They
the
wouldn't
name of
say the
freedom.
people. They're not going to say they're going to raise taxes on the people.
Yeah,
But
they are. We're
no, they're going
saying
to say they're going to raise
we want to stop the race to the bottom in corporate taxes.
corporate.
That's the people.
No, see, that's the thing. A lot of really left-leaning individuals don't surmise, they don't connect those two things. They're saying it's the corporations that have too much power. They
You
have too much
tax
money. They do
McDonald's
things.
10%. I guarantee the price of everything at McDonald's goes up by 10%.
I would totally agree with you. I'm just showing the opposite side, or excuse me, opposite claims, I think would be a better way to describe it. Evil corporations. Yep, this is what we talked about earlier. This is being pushed all along the way.
Yep.
There you go. The plan would eliminate long-standing loopholes, including lower taxes on capital gains and dividends for the wealthy, which reward wealth over work.
That's,
Yeah, sure. Okay. You're going to go
work
after
is
me too.
ennobling.
Oh God, I can't.
Work makes you a better person. Nothing in excess, right? All things in moderation. I would not wish anyone to be worked to death or have to work 80 hours a week or anything, unless they wanted to, and it was beneficial to them, really truly beneficial. But the
So
idea
it's
that people should not have to work to be wealthy, 'cause that's what it keeps talking about wealth over work.
well
And
again.
really what they want to do is disconnect work from wealth. They say they want to reward work.
That's their claim. That's what they're saying they're going to do.
Instead of
But
rewarding wealth. But what they really want to do, because wealth is the reward, what they really want to do is separate work from wealth, so that there's no connection between the two.
so it was just 11:11, and I'm going to make the wish that I think now's the time to end
Oh,
before
it
we
is.
just get
It
into
is.
stupidity.
Let's get to
But
our.
yes,
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough government stupidity for one day. We got 2/3 of the way through. The rest is their charts and tables, which are all lies.
right. And
And you
this is
can
it.
check the deck clock against their charts and tables. I encourage you to do so. We will put this PDF up, and we will put the deck clock up, and you can do the math.
Have fun because I'm sure they realize no one's going to check.
Yep. But anyway, I mean that's the whose budget is this? Budget of the U.S. government for the fiscal year. So this is the federal government's like budget. So it's the Fed chairman, or not the Fed chairman, the Treasury. It's probably the Treasury Secretary's summary, which will be different from the Congress summary, which will be different from any person with a calculator and two brain cells to rub together summary.
It's
Both the
all
government and
disgusting.
the congressional office will be wrong.
All disgusting. All
Okay.
disgusting.
We got our quote. Oh, I've got an entertainment. I have no idea what this is. We're gonna find out what the hell this is.
Yes, poke at it. Oh, it tells us right there at the bottom. Oh, it's a slideshow of Manhattan.
Okay. Well, that's not particularly. That came up on our news feed. Meh.
I
That
mean,
came up on
maybe
our news
they're
feed.
I can't hear what they're saying. Maybe I'm going to take a gamble that they're probably talking about, COVID being gone by or going by the wayside. Everyone's just hanging.
There's nothing. There's just some happy music, and this is from Reuters. Thanks, Reuters. This was really news
Amazing,
relevant.
wonderful.
Cool.
Now, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Moving on to Epic. Moving on to something meaningful. Number 18.
Oh, yeah.
Enchiridion. When a raven happens to croak unluckily, be not overcome by appearances, but discriminate and say, nothing is portended to me, either to my paltry body, or property, or reputation, or children, or wife, but to me all portents are lucky if I will. For whatsoever happens, it belongs to me to derive advantage therefrom. In other words, don't read bad signs in the stars or get excited from a fortune cookie.
Calm yourself down and don't get excitable. Yes.
Yep. All right.
That was a very, it was very just, at first I was like, where's he got?
Yeah. Portent is a word that means prodigy or a sign of something yet to come. So.
It was just funny, the usage of a raven croaking.
Yes, which of course would have been meaningful to people, right? Like to see a raven die, be like, "Oh God, it's a bad sign. Something bad is going to happen to me. Somebody I know is going to die." No, maybe, but it's neither good nor bad. Stuff happens.
Has as much power as you put into it.
Yep. All right.
Well, we'll have to see where we're going to go next week. Obviously, there's a lot of poking at CRT, critical race theory, but we'll see what news runs into us and what we'll run into in turn.
We also have Chinese soft power coming, and it's exploitation of CRT, which is fun.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure the Chinese aren't pushing the idea of watching their enemies, explode from the inside to any degree. But with that being said, I'm the department chair.
I am the cabinet.
And we will see all of you next week.